They never wanted Bella to be happy, so they planned something evil. But they never expected this to happen. Bella was adopted by a rich family, but they never treated her as their own. When she was chosen to be a princess, her adoptive parents and their real daughter Anne were furious. They made an evil plan to ruin her life, but what happened next shocked everyone. Bella had always known she was different. She lived in a big, beautiful house with Chris and Amanda, the people who had adopted her when she was just a baby. From the outside, it looked like a happy family, but inside, Bella's life was far from happy. Chris and Amanda never treated her like a real daughter. They made sure she had food, clothes, and a place to sleep, but that was all. There was no love, no kindness, and no warmth. While their real daughter Anne was given everything she wanted, Bella was treated like a servant in her own home. Every morning, Bella would wake up before sunrise to do all the house chores. She cleaned the floors, washed the dishes, and even made breakfast, but she was never allowed to eat at the same table as them. Anne, on the other hand, would sleep in late and wake up to a hot meal waiting for her. "Why does Bella always have to do everything?" Anne would sometimes ask, pretending to care. "Because she's lucky we even took her in," Amanda would say coldly. "She should be grateful." And Bella was grateful. At least that's what she told herself. She didn't complain, she didn't cry in front of them, and she never argued back. But deep inside, she wished she was loved the same way Anne was. Anne was everything Bella wasn't allowed to be. She was dressed in the prettiest dresses, sent to the best school, and given expensive gifts on her birthday. Bella, on the other hand, only got hand-me-downs, old clothes that Anne didn't want anymore. As they grew older, Anne became crueler. She never missed a chance to remind Bella that she was an orphan. "You know, Mom and Dad only took you in because they felt sorry for you," Anne would say with a smirk. "You don't really belong here." Bella would say nothing. She would just lower her head and continue whatever work she was doing. She had learned that arguing never helped, but deep inside she wanted to ask, "Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you?" No matter how badly Anne treated her, Bella never wished her harm. She still saw her as a sister and hoped that one day Anne would love her back. But Anne didn't want a sister. She wanted to be the only daughter, the only one who mattered. Chris and Amanda made things worse. They treated Anne like a princess and made sure Bella knew she was unwanted. Whenever guests came over, Bella was hidden away. She wasn't allowed to speak unless spoken to. "Don't embarrass us," Amanda would warn. If Bella did something wrong, even something small, she was punished. One time she accidentally spilled tea on the table. Anne laughed, but Amanda was furious. "You useless girl," she shouted. "Go to your room and don't come out until tomorrow." That night, Bella cried herself to sleep. But no matter how badly they treated her, she still had hope. She believed that one day things would get better. She didn't know that her life was about to change forever. Chris and Amanda stormed into their house, slamming the door behind them. Their faces were red with shock and anger. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Bella, the orphan girl they had adopted out of pity, was now a princess? It was impossible. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have thought it was a joke. Amanda threw her purse onto the couch and paced the room, shaking her head. "No, no, no, this cannot be happening," she shouted. "How can Bella, an orphan, be living in a palace, sitting on a throne, wearing a crown? She doesn't deserve any of this." Chris clenched his fists. "It should have been Anne," he growled. "Our daughter, not Bella. She's the one who should be marrying Prince Peter, not some girl we took in out of pity." Amanda turned to face her husband, her eyes burning with rage. "We raised that girl, we fed her, we gave her a roof over her head, and this is how she repays us? By taking the life that should have been Anne's?" Chris slammed his fist on the table. "I will not stand for this. We have to do something. We have to stop this wedding before it's too late." Amanda nodded quickly. "Yes, we have to ruin her chance at happiness. We need to make sure Prince Peter sees that she's not worthy of being a princess." They both sat down, their minds racing. After a few moments of silence, Amanda smirked. "I have an idea," she said slowly, her voice dripping with wickedness. Chris leaned in. "What is it?" Amanda's eyes gleamed. "Anne. She is our only way in. Bella has a kind heart. She always forgives. If Anne goes to the palace, cries a little, and pretends to be sorry, Bella will believe her. She will let her stay. Chris's face lit up with understanding. And once Anne is inside the palace, she can ruin everything from the inside. Amanda clapped her hands together. Exactly. She can turn the royal family against Bella. She can make them believe Bella is not fit to be a princess. And if that doesn't work, we will make sure Bella's gone for good. Chris grinned. That's brilliant. Anne will love this plan. Without wasting another second, Amanda grabbed her phone and called Anne. The moment Anne picked up, Amanda's voice turned soft and sweet. My darling, we have something very important to tell you. Anne, who was lying on her bed painting her nails, sat up. What is it, Mom? Amanda took a deep breath. It's about Bella. Anne frowned. What about her? Chris took the phone from Amanda and said in a bitter tone, She's going to marry a prince, Anne. She is now a princess. Anne's jaw dropped. What? Bella? A princess? She burst into laughter. You're joking, right? Amanda sighed. I wish we were. But no, Anne, it's true. Bella is in the palace right now, enjoying the life that should have been yours. Anne's laughter stopped. Her face darkened. That's not fair. That should be me in that palace, wearing the crown. Bella is nothing but a poor orphan. Chris smirked. That's why we need your help, sweetheart. We have a plan, and you're the most important part of it. Anne listened carefully as her parents explained everything. The more she heard, the more excited she became. By the time they finished, she was grinning from ear to ear. I love it, she said. I'll go to the palace tomorrow and act like the sweetest sister ever. Bella will never see it coming. Amanda beamed with pride. That's my girl. Chris chuckled. Once you're in, start looking for weaknesses. Turn people against Bella, and when the time is right, he paused, his eyes gleaming. Make sure she never gets to be a princess again. Anne nodded eagerly. Leave it to me, Dad. Bella won't know what hit her. As they ended the call, Amanda and Chris exchanged satisfied looks. Their plan was in motion. Soon, Bella's happiness would come crashing down, and Anne would take the place she truly deserved. Or so they thought. Anne's arrival at the palace. Anne stood at the grand gates of the palace, holding onto her suitcase with trembling hands. But her heart wasn't trembling, only her hands for show. She knew the guards wouldn't let her in easily, so she let out a deep sigh and wiped an imaginary tear from her cheek. I must see my sister, she whispered, making sure her voice sounded weak and sad. The guards exchanged glances. They knew who she was. The same girl who had always looked down on Bella, who never treated her like family. And now here she was, calling Bella her sister. No visitors without permission, one of the guards said firmly. Anne bit her lip, glancing up at the golden gates, hoping Bella would appear. And just as she wished, Bella stepped onto the balcony, dressed in royal silk, her crown shining under the morning sun. The moment Bella's eyes fell on Anne, she froze. For a second, she was the same little girl who had once shared a house with Anne, hoping to be her friend, hoping to be accepted. But then she remembered the hurtful words, the way Anne and her parents had treated her like she was nothing. The guards turned to Bella, waiting for her command. Bella hesitated, her heart battling between kindness and caution. But before she could speak, Prince Peter stepped forward, standing beside her. She is your family, Bella, he said gently. If she has come to make peace, shouldn't she be given a chance? Bella looked at him, then back at Anne. Anne's head was bowed, her shoulders shaking as if she was crying. Was she really sorry? Could she have changed? Bella took a deep breath. Let her in, she said softly. The gates opened, and Anne stepped inside, her heart pounding, not with nervousness, but with excitement. Step one of the plan was complete. She walked slowly, letting her eyes wander over the beauty of the palace. The white marble floors shone so brightly she could almost see her reflection. Tall golden pillars lined the hallway, leading to a massive staircase that spiraled upward like something out of a fairy tale. Servants moved gracefully through the halls, dressed in royal uniforms, their heads slightly bowed as they passed. Anne had never seen anything like it. She had dreamed of wealth, of power, of being a princess. But now, standing in the middle of this grand palace, she realized something. This was what Bella had. The orphan girl they had treated like a servant now lived in a world Anne had always wanted for herself. Jealousy burned in her chest, but she pushed it down. She had to play her part. When she reached Bella, she dropped her suitcase and fell to her knees dramatically. "Bella, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I was terrible to you. I was cruel, and I didn't see how much you deserved happiness. Please forgive me. Please let me stay, just for a while. I want to make things right." Bella stared at Anne, unsure. Could she trust her? "I don't know, Anne," Bella said slowly. Anne sniffled, lowering her head like a child begging for forgiveness. "I have nowhere else to go," she whispered. "I just want to be your sister again." Bella hesitated, but Prince Peter gently touched her hand. "You have a kind heart, Bella. Perhaps this is a chance for healing." Bella sighed. "All right, you can stay." Anne's eyes lit up with victory, but she quickly masked it with another fake sniffle. "Thank you," she whispered, reaching out to hold Bella's hand. But Bella didn't take it. A maid led Anne to her new room, and the moment the doors closed behind her, Anne gasped. The room was enormous, larger than her parents' entire house. A crystal chandelier hung above a massive bed, covered in silk sheets. The walls were lined with golden decorations, and a balcony overlooked the royal gardens, where fountains glistened under the sun. Anne walked across the room in awe. This should have been mine, she thought bitterly. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was her mother, Amanda. Anne quickly answered. "Are you inside?" Amanda's voice was sharp. "Yes," Anne whispered, "and it's even more beautiful than we imagined." "Good," Amanda said. "Then you know what to do next." Anne's eyes darkened with determination. "Yes, Mother, I won't fail." She ended the call and walked to the balcony, looking over the kingdom that now belonged to Bella. A slow, wicked smile spread across her lips. She was inside the palace, and soon she would destroy everything. Anne had been in the palace for a few weeks now, pretending to be the perfect, loving sister. She smiled sweetly at Bella, helped with small tasks, and even sat next to her during royal dinners. Everyone believed she had changed, but deep inside she was still full of jealousy and hatred. She wanted Bella out of the way, and now was the time to strike. One evening, as the palace staff prepared for a grand dinner, Anne knew this was her chance. She had hidden a small bottle of poison inside her dress pocket, something her mother, Amanda, had given her before she left home. "Use this when the time is right," Amanda had whispered. And now Anne believed the time was perfect. The dining hall was decorated beautifully with golden chandeliers lighting up the room. The long royal table was covered with delicious food, roast chicken, fresh bread, steaming soup, and sweet desserts. Bella was seated at the head of the table, her smile bright as she talked with Prince Peter and the Queen. Anne waited until no one was looking, then slowly took out the tiny bottle. She glanced around nervously, making sure no one saw her. With shaking hands, she poured a few drops of the poison into Bella's cup of juice. The liquid mixed in instantly, disappearing without a trace. Anne smirked. "Goodbye, Bella," she whispered under her breath. What Anne didn't know was that the Queen had been watching her all along. From the moment Anne stepped into the palace, the Queen never fully trusted her. She had noticed Anne's fake smiles, the way her eyes darted around as if she was always planning something. So tonight, when the Queen saw Anne acting strangely near Bella's drink, she decided to stay quiet and watch. The moment Anne put the poison into Bella's drink, the Queen's heart pounded. She stood up from her seat and called the guards in a loud, commanding voice. "Guards, seize her!" The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at Anne, who froze in place, her hands trembling. The guards rushed toward her, surrounding her before she could run. What? What is happening?" Anne stammered, pretending to be confused. The Queen walked toward her, her eyes full of anger. "Do not play games with me, Anne. I saw everything. You tried to poison Bella." Bella gasped in shock, looking at Anne with wide, teary eyes. "Anne, why would you do this?" she asked, her voice breaking. Anne panicked. She shook her head quickly. "No! I didn't do anything. I swear. The Queen is lying," she shouted, stepping back in fear. The Queen nodded at one of the royal servants. "Bring the drink," she ordered. The servant carefully lifted Bella's untouched cup and handed it to a royal guard. The guard sniffed it, then poured a drop onto a silver spoon. He dipped a tiny piece of bread into it and gave it to a small, trained palace dog. Within seconds, the dog whined and collapsed, its body going still. Gasps filled the room. The proof was undeniable. Anne's face turned pale. Her body shook. She knew she was caught. "Tell the truth, Anne," the queen demanded. Tears rolled down Anne's cheeks as she dropped to her knees. I'm so sorry," she cried. "It wasn't my idea. It was my parents. My mother and father told me to do this. They hate Bella. They didn't want her to be happy. Please forgive me." Bella covered her mouth in shock, while Prince Peter clenched his fists. The king, who had been silent all this time, finally stood up. His face was filled with disappointment and anger. "Guards," the king said firmly, "arrest her. And send for the police to bring in Chris and Amanda as well. They must all face punishment for this crime." The guards grabbed Anne by the arms as she sobbed uncontrollably. "Please, no! I don't want to go to prison. I was only doing what my parents told me," she screamed, but no one felt sorry for her. As the guards dragged Anne out of the palace, the queen turned to Bella and held her close. "You are safe now, my dear," she said gently. Bella, still shaken, nodded. She looked at Anne one last time as she was taken away. A tear slipped down her cheek, not because she was sad for Anne, but because she couldn't believe the family she once loved had tried to hurt her so badly. That night, Bella learned a painful lesson. Not everyone who smiles at you is truly your friend. It wasn't long before the guards returned with Chris and Amanda. They had been dragged from their home, confused and angry. "What is the meaning of this?" Chris barked. "Why are we being treated like criminals?" The king stepped forward, his face unreadable. "Your daughter has confessed everything," he said. "We know about your wicked plan." Amanda's face turned pale. What?" she stammered, looking at Anne. Anne sniffled, avoiding her mother's gaze. "I told them everything, Mother. It's over." Amanda's lips trembled, and Chris clenched his fists. "You ungrateful child," he yelled. "How dare you betray your own family?" But the queen raised a hand, silencing him. "Enough," she commanded. "You have already shown what kind of family you are. Instead of loving Bella, you chose to hate her. And now, because of your actions, you will face the consequences." The king nodded. "Chris, Amanda, and Anne, you are all guilty of attempting to harm the princess. You will be handed over to the royal guards, who will ensure you are punished according to the law." "No, please!" Amanda screamed as the guards grabbed her. Chris struggled, but there was no escape. Anne, too, cried as she was taken away. "Bella, please, help me," she sobbed. Bella sighed, her heart heavy. She had once wished for a real family, but now she saw that some people could never change. "You must face the consequences of your actions, Anne," Bella said softly. "I hope one day you learn the meaning of love and kindness." With that, the guards led them all out of the palace, their cries fading as they disappeared into the night. For the first time in her life, Bella felt free. No longer did she have to live in fear of her adoptive parents' cruelty. She had a new family now, a real family that loved and cared for her. Prince Peter held her hand and smiled. "It's over now, Bella. You're safe." The queen walked over and placed a gentle hand on Bella's shoulder. "You have a pure heart, my dear. Despite everything, you still showed kindness. That is why you are truly fit to be a princess." Bella smiled warmly, feeling a sense of belonging she had never felt before. Over time, Bella grew into a strong and beloved princess. She worked to help orphans and the less fortunate, never forgetting where she had come from. The people loved her, and so did Prince Peter, who stood by her side through everything. As for Chris, Amanda, and Anne, they were never heard from again. Their greed and jealousy had destroyed them, while Bella's kindness had only made her stronger. And so Bella lived the rest of her life, not just as a princess, but as a woman who had conquered hatred with love.